Today we're going over the Necromancer tank for the Ascending Tide patch. So let's go ahead and get into it. Max Magicka is 22k, maximum health is 43.8k, max stamina is 26.7, magic recovery unbuffed is 1.4, health recovery unbuffed is 2.4. Stamina recovery is 600 unbuffed. So spell resistance and physical resistance unbuffed is 22,000 or 22.3. Now, I am an Imperial, so my stats may look a little different if you're a different race. When it comes to tanking, Nord will give you a lot of ulti regen. Well, it gives you better ulti regen plus some resistances, where Imperials just basically gives you, I think it's like 6% reduced cost to all of your abilities. Gives you max health, max stamina. So, and then Argonian is another good class that basically when you pop a potion, it gives you more resources back. So it's great for sustain as well, right along there with Imperial. So if you don't have the Imperial pack and you want sustain, if you're starting out, I would go Argonian. If you're comfortable tanking, go with Nord if you want to. But any race, I mean, I've tanked trials and dungeons on a Khajiit, so you can really be whatever you want to be. Doesn't really matter too much, but it will make some things easier depending on your race. So, to balance out my stats, I have 34 points into Magicka and 29 into Stamina. You do want your Stamina higher than your max Magicka, due to the fact that when you pop shards, you pop orbs, you get Stamina back instead of Magicka. So, now the food that we're running is Tri-Stat food. It shows 0 across the boards on here, but that's just kind of glitched. And the boon that I'm running is the Adronach. It gives me increased magic recovery. Now, I guess if I buffed up off of this real quick, let me just show that. So that, just to kind of buff up real quick, you'll see that my health recovery goes up to 3,000, stamina recovery 785, magic recovery 1.8. Spell resistance and physical resistance are at 28.2. Now, there is a cap, or I don't know if you call it a soft cap or a hard cap, but pretty much 38.2, 38.3, just depending on who you talk to, or not 38, 33.2 or 33.3, my mistake. You're not going to get any more resistances out of that. Like, that is the resistances that I would not go over. So like if you've got reinforced pieces or you're just tanky, if you're over 33.3, 33,300 resistance points, it's pretty much a waste. Now, if you're doing PvP, it's a different story, but in PvE content, 33.3 is more than enough resistance points. So, and I'm at 28, and I have no problems with anything. So, just bear in mind. Now, when it comes to the food, you have options. You have your crown meals here. Gives you max health, max magicka, and stamina. These are good to use as well. And then you also have Longfin Pasta and Withered Tree. They give you the same ones. Max health at 4.4, max magicka, max stamina at 4.1. So they're slightly better than the Crown Fortified Meal. Not a whole lot, but they're slightly better. And then the best one is Bewitched Sugar Skull. It gives you max health at 4.6k and max stamina and max magicka at 4.2. And it adds 462 health recovery. Now, the thing with Bewitched Sugar Skulls is that when you use this and you travel into a dungeon or a trial or going in and out of delves, whatever it may be, it always seems like your health, your magicka and your stamina bars will drop back down as if you have no food equipped. So, they're there. It shows the max number, but it will look like they're not there. And sometimes that can screw with people. You can either take another one to reset the bars and you'll be absolutely fine, or if you're comfortable with it, you could just go with it. It's entirely up to some people. I've seen it actually mess with some people mentally because they think they don't have the amount of magicka and stamina they normally do, and it's crazy. But with Bewitched Sugar Skulls, our health recovery will jump up a lot. It goes up to 3.7k. Like, it's ridiculous. So I will say that is with 500 ultimate as well. So now, in the champion points, the green tree, Gilded Fingers, Fortune Favors, passives. Gilded Fingers increase your gold by 10% from everything. Fortune Favors you get a 50% increased gold from treasure chests and safe boxes. Steadfast enchantment. The enchantments on your weapons, this has a 50% chance to not consume the charge. So, and then for ones I keep on my bar, Treasure Hunter, just increased quality of items I find in treasure chests. And liquid efficiency, because we use crown pots, we use essence of health pots, whatever it may be. At least this way it saves us some money, or it just saves us from using another pot. You know, just saves us on gold too. So now I keep these two on my bar. Master Gatherer gives me a 50% reduced time in harvesting, and Plentiful Harvest gives me a 50% chance to get double resources. Because while I'm waiting on trial teams, dungeon queues, stuff like that, usually my dungeon queues are pretty fast though. So this is mostly to the trial teams to form. I'm farming. So, but once I get in, if you don't really care about this, Steve's Blessing gives you an extra 20% 20% movement speed out of combat, and Rationer adds an extra 30 minutes to your food or drink buffs. So, now, Blue Tree. Over here we have Blessed, just adds an extra 2% healing done. Eldritch Insight, Tireless Discipline, Precision. I mean, you really don't need Precision at all. I just kind of had this here because I have the extra points. And then in this tree, we have Quick Recovery, gives us an extra 2% healing taken. Elemental Aegis, Preparation, Hardy. So these right here, they're added to your bar. So it doesn't really matter that much. Now the ones I keep on my bar, I keep unassailable, I think. Unassailable. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right or not. But it basically reduces my damage by 10% to area effect attacks. Bulwark, when you have a shield or frost staff equipped, your spell and physical resistance is increased by 1900. Reinforce, when you begin bracing, you gain a damage shield that absorbs 5.1k damage for 3 seconds. And Duelist Rebuff, reduce the damage you take by single target attacks by 10%. So I also have this one, Enduring Resolve, reduce your damage taken by damage over time effects. And then there's these as well. I mean, you can use whatever you like. So some of these are okay, some of them not so much. Like, I don't really care too much for these. These are just usually dealing damage back, where you got to be low health to begin with to get this. So I just kind of like these. I usually swap out between these right here, these 5, but that's just me. But yeah, I would recommend these 5 at least on your 4 out of the 4. So, but if you feel like you need more resources, you could always go with something like Arcane Supremacy and Endless Endurance if you feel like you need more magic and stamina on your bar. But honestly, these are the 5 that you should be swapping in and out. So, Red Tree, there are a ton of passives. Defiance, Tumbling, Mystic Tenacity, Hero's Vigor for more max health, Sprinter, Hasty, Tireless Guardian, Fortification, Savage Defense, Bashing Brutality, Nimble Protector, and then over here, Tipper Soul, if you, for whatever reason, you get dropped, and when you get res, this gives you 10% more of your resources back, so that way you might actually, you'll be able to block an attack and stuff like that, and stay up, and just kind of keep it going. Now, I keep Balanced Vitality on my bar, Fortified, Rejuvenation, and Strategic Resolve. You gain 30 health recovery for every 10 ultimate. This is the reason why my health recovery is so high, because of the fact, right now, I have 500 ultimate. So, well, wrong one. Because that 500, you know, for every 10 ultimate, you know, so that's 50, yeah, 500. So 500 ultimate roughly, at 30. So that's an extra 1500 health recovery right there. My math may be off. I'm recording this video kind of early, and it is really too early to be mathing. But if you want to do the math, you can. I do believe it is like 1500 or so. But yeah, sets, or I guess pots. Crown Tri Restoration pots, or Crown Tri pots. Basically restores magicka, health, and stamina at once. You gain major fortitude, intellect, and endurance. And then you have your Essence of Health pots, which give you a little less, honestly. It's kind of crazy. These give you 8.5k health. In return, these give you 8.4. So honestly, that's why I use these more than these. So, but yeah, those are the pots. If I'm not doing anything serious and I'm just running little dungeons, I'll switch out trash pots. You know, use some trash health pots or trash magicka, trash stamina. It's usually stamina for the most part. But sets, first set is Turning Tide. Turning Tide comes from Shipwright's Regret, and it is one of the best tanking sets in the game right now. I love it. I'm running it front bar and back bar and jewelry. The jewelry from the dungeon will come purple if you do it on vet, on normal, blue, but honestly, even on vet, the dungeon isn't complicated. I think the hardest part about doing the dungeon for me was the lag. I know at the final boss at one point, the second Colossus was absolutely invisible for us, and we were getting smacked. Could not see what was hitting us. So, but yeah, Turning Tides, Shipwright's Regret. Keep wanting to say Shipwreck. I'm running a Sword Decisive with the Absorb Stamina enchant just for a little extra resource management. You could also go with a Weakening enchant here that will lower the boss or whatever that you're hitting, weapon and spell damage. Then I have a Sturdy Shield with a Tri-Stat Glyph. You can go max health on here. It's not going to hurt nothing. But I use this in-game as well, so I have it with Tri-Stats. So, but max health, you'll be absolutely fine. You don't need to go Tri-Stat on it if you don't want to. If you don't have the resources or the gold to do it. But Sturdy. And then I have an Ice Staff on the back bar infused with a Crusher enchant on it. And jewelry, I have Magic Recovery on all of these, and they're all healthy. As a tank, you know, Triune, Harmony, even maybe a Swift if you wanted to. Though, if you want to transmute the jewelry, all those would be absolutely fine. Personally, I would probably end up going Triune. So, or maybe even one infused with the Magic Recovery on it. You could do that too. So, now what this set does, it gives us max health, max stamina, max health, and when you block, you gain flowing water for 10 seconds, causing your next bash attack to deal 6.1k magic damage to up to 6 enemies in a 5 by 10 meter line, and apply major vulnerability for 10 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 10%. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds and scales off your max health. Now, I get it. We have major vulnerability with our ultimate, with our Colossus, but we pair it with the monster set from Shipwright's Regret and Nazareth's Visage. Well, it's just Nazareth's. Visage is the heavy armor helmet. I'm running a heavy helmet infused and heavy shoulders sturdy. Now, these are Tri-Stat Glyphs equipped as well. By all means, you can go sturdy on both, or you can go infused on all the big pieces if you wanted to. But you can do max health and just divvy up your points to fix the max stamina, max magicka, if you wanted to. You do not need Tri-Stat Glyphs on these if you don't have it, but like I said, I use this stuff in game, so I do have a Tri-Stat on it. So, now, you can also get away with just purple. As a tank, you can get away with purple gear. It's not that big of a deal. You're pretty tanky as it is. So, but now what this set does, it gives us maximum health, and when you use an ultimate ability, the closest 6 enemies within 12 meters have all major debuffs and minor debuffs applied to them, extended by 1 second per 20 ultimate spent. This effect can occur once every 30 seconds per target. Now, because of the fact that we are a Necro, and we have major vulnerability in our Colossus, which is great, but unless you're using a set from a trial, which is Zaxel's Champion, you want to use Warhorn. Like, you're going to want to use Warhorn because it gives your group major force. If you are not using, if you're using Zaxels, then you're going to give them major force, so you can use your Colossus. But in this situation, you're going to want to use Warhorn because we're not going to have major force any other way. Or we're not going to be able to supply the group with major force. So at least this way, we can block, bash the enemy, and we're going to put major vulnerability on them. And then we basically, when we use Warhorn, this will apply that major debuff, and it will last longer. So it still allows us to apply major vulnerability for a longer extended time, even without the Colossus. Uh, Now, if you still want to use the Colossus, it's not a big deal. You can easily get rid of this and go with something else. Uh, you have tons of options and sets. You can even get a crafted set like Torag's Pact starting out. It gives you armor, max health, armor, and decreases the weapon enchant cooldown by 33%. So, I mean, you could definitely go with that too. You can also go with a more group beneficiary set like Arceus, where they're just getting a ton of ultimate back when you pop a potion. Um, I guess I could go down to it. Um, I do believe Arceus is from Stone Guardian. Yeah, I had a brain fart there for a second. But basically give you max health, armor, max health, and whenever you drink a potion while in combat, you and 3 group members gain 42 ultimate. So if you're in a 3-man content, you'll be absolutely fine with this. So you could also go with other sets. I mean, there are a ton. Uh, Akavir Dragon Guard is the overland set. It comes from East March. Basically reduces the cost of your ultimate by 15%. That's a really good one to get. If you want to go cheap and easy and basic, because you're just, maybe it's a baby tank and you're just getting started, Akavir Dragon Guard, Plague Doctor, you may spend, getting that entire set for Dragon Guard and Plague Doctor, you will probably spend 30 to 40k on PS4 NA. Pieces are very cheap. So, now, second 5-piece set that we're running is Curse. We're running Drake's Rush. We're running infused chest, sturdy waist, sturdy gloves, infused legs, and sturdy boots. Now, all with max health enchants. Now, this comes from Black Drake Villa, and what this does, it gives us max health, max stamina, and when you bash an enemy, you and up to 3 group members within 15 meters, you gain major heroism for 12 seconds, granting you 3 ultimate every 1.5 seconds. This effect can occur once every 18 seconds. Now, Turning Tide is absolutely amazing, and I would recommend having it, but if you don't remember to bash, then I would replace this with Arceus for that extra ulti regen for the group. Because when you pop a potion, it can be a trash potion. It doesn't have to be much. They'll gain resources back. They'll gain ultimate back. The more ultimates they get, the more ulti they get, the more ultimates they can drop, which makes the fights quicker. So, for 4-man content, Drake's Rush, Turning Tide, and Nazareth is one of the best setups for dungeon content. I wholeheartedly believe that. So, now, if you don't have Nazareth, and you're just looking for another set to replace it with, you have options. If you want ulti, if you want some help with ultimate, there is, I think it's, Spindle Clutch, Blood Spawn. Stam recovery, and when you take damage, you have a 6% chance to generate 13 ultimate, increase your physical and spell resistance by 3.6k. This is probably one of the easiest monster sets to get, and it is a pretty solid one. It's pretty good on ulti regen, and it makes you tanky. So Blood Spawn isn't bad. It's pretty good. Now, if sustain is your issue, Darkshade Cavern 1 is another very easy dungeon to get, and Engine Guardian is the monster set to go with. It gives you health recovery, and when you use an ability that costs resources, you have a 25% chance to summon a Dwemer Automaton to restore 531 stamina, or Magicka, or 1.9k health to you every 0.5 seconds for 6 seconds. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Now, the resources that you're going to get, it's going to vary. You may get stamina, you may get Magicka, or you may get heals. So it's up in the air, but this is the best set when it comes to sustain for a tank. If you're wanting to focus more on what you're going to get, you can go Sentinel. This is from Darkshade's Cavern 2, and basically gives you 4% healing done. When you heal yourself or an ally, you summon a Dwemer Spire that heals for 984 health, and restore 121 Magicka and stamina to you and your allies within 5 meters every 1 second for 8 seconds. Now, it's going to be a little Dwemer Spire is going to pop up. It's going to be like a little ring, probably like a little 5-meter ring. It's going to glow green, and you just stand in it, and you'll get a little health, a little magic, and a little stamina back. So, if you're wanting more consistency in what you're going to get, Sentinel. But this definitely outperforms Sentinel in a long run. But like I said, these two are best for sustain and a little heals, and they both come from Darkshade Cavern. So, if you want to be a little more tanky, Blood Spawn. Spindle Clutch 1, very easy to get through. If you want sustain, Darkshade Caverns 1 or 2 for your sustain monster sets. So, now, the way these sets work is that basically you'll come in, smack them. We'll just get these things over here. Ouch. We'll block, and you'll see it proc. You got 9 seconds to use it, so we just hit. And you'll see it go out. Now they all have major vulnerability on them. And normally I would have Warhorn here equipped, but I forgot to change it. But you would just do that. Now it's up to 26 seconds. And that's it. It is an awesome little set. That's really all it is. Will you bash? Because you're going to bash with Nazareth. Or not Nazareth, but you're going to bash with Turning Tides. So you're already having to bash. So with this set, so you have to bash to get that major vulnerability to proc. So Drake's Rush just makes sense to pair with it for 4-man content. Because you're going to bash. So you're going to be using this anyways. So for 4-man content, Turning Tide, Nazareth, Drake's Rush, I really don't think you could beat it. So, skills. Sorry, let me replace this. Your number 1 taunt, Pierce Armor. Thrust your weapon with Discipline, dealing 2.8k damage and taunting them to attack you for 15 seconds. Also inflicts Minor Breach and Major Breach on the enemy, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 2.9k and 5.9k for 15 seconds. Heroic Slash. Surprise an enemy with a deep lunge, dealing 3.3k physical damage, and inflict them with minor maim, reducing their damage done by 5% for 12 seconds. You gain minor heroism, granting you 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 12 seconds. So basically, with this, we get minor heroism. From Drake's Rush, we're getting major heroism. So we regen ultimate crazy. Plus one of our skills. Agony Totem. Summon an effigy of bone at your feet for 13 seconds. It grants minor protection to you and your allies, reducing damage taken by 5%. After 2 seconds, Totem begins fearing nearby enemies for 2 seconds, causing them to cower in place for 4 seconds. Allies can activate the Pure Agony synergy, causing enemies to take 5.8k magic damage over 5 seconds, and applying minor vulnerability to them, increasing their damage taken by 5%. Now, as long as someone pops this synergy on this totem, they'll have minor vulnerability. You cannot proc it, but they can. So if somebody procs it, so with this, they get major vulnerability, and then there'll be minor vulnerability, and then when you pop your ultimate, it's going to increase all of those buffs. So they're going to have minor vulnerability, major vulnerability on them for a good bit. So it's amazing how it works out. I do like to wait to pop my ultimate and stuff like that. I try to hold on to it for the very last second, or within 2 seconds of it left on my thing. But I really want to see minor vulnerability on there. I do try to hold off, or usually if I'm with somebody, I'll be like, hey, pop this, make sure you're popping that for me. Like I let them know in the group that, hey, pop that synergy for me. It's going to make your DPSing, it's going to make you DPSing a whole lot easier, and it's going to, so it just makes things easier. Communicate with your group as a tank. Let them know, like, hey, if you see this synergy, go ahead and pop it. It needs to be done. I need it. It's going to increase y'all's DPS, but only y'all can pop it. Let them know. Communication is always key as a tank for most runs. Now, I wouldn't say it's going to take a lot of communication if I'm going to 1, but if you're doing something like Scale Collar Peak on Vet, communication is definitely key. So we have next ability, we have Necrotic Potency. Sap the lingering life from fresh corpses, granting you 6 ultimate and healing 1.9k health every 1 second for 2 seconds per additional course. This ability scales off your max health. While slotted, your damage taken is reduced by 3%. So this right here, it just allows us to get more ultimate. It's awesome. Spirit Guardian. Conjure a ghostly spirit to do your bidding and stay by your side for 16 seconds. Spirit heals you or the lowest health ally around you every 2 seconds, restoring 3.2k health. While active, 10% of the damage you take is transferred to the spirit instead. Now, we're not always going to get this heal, but that 10% transfer of damage, it helps us out a lot. And then on top of that, we get minor protection from this, Plus, we put minor maim on the enemy from that. So, plus this gives us an extra 3% reduced damage. We have a lot of mitigation on this front bar. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous how much damage, how little damage we actually take. I mean, it takes a whole lot. You really got to stop paying attention in order to take a lot of, in order to get dropped, to be honest with you. Aggressive Warhorn. Sound a Warhorn to rally your forces, increasing you and your group's max magicka and max stamina by 10% for 30 seconds. You and your allies gain major force, increasing your critical damage by 20% for 10 seconds. Like I said, Warhorn is crazy. It gives major force to the enemies. So that increases their critical damage done. But as a Necro, we do have Colossus, which gives major vulnerability. So this will apply major vulnerability. So, but we're getting major vulnerability from Turning Tide. So that is why we're able to use Warhorn on our Necro tank, because it works. And then this boosts it, and then we still get major force and everything else. Like I've went over it multiple times now. But yeah, if you don't have Turning Tide set, then go with the Colossus. Just stick with the Colossus, even if you don't want to go in there in PvP. Like, you get Aggressive Warhorn from PvP. You know, you get it in your support or your PvP skill lines. Assault and support. Just need level 4. You get it. All you gotta do is go in and do the tutorial, and I think you'll either get this or you'll be pretty close. I think I went in with this right here and just did the tutorial and stuff. And I think I did one battlegrounds and ended up here, had my Warhorn. So I might have just got lucky, or maybe I had a boon on the extra AP, but I'm not sure. But it really doesn't take long to get Aggressive Warhorn. It's pretty quick. So, back bar, Inner Rage. We're going to deal some magic damage and taunting them to attack you for 15 seconds. Ranged allies targeting the taunted enemy can activate this Radiant Synergy, dealing 5.8k magic damage to them over 3 seconds, and an additional 5k magic damage to them and other nearby enemies. This is just a ranged taunt. That's really all we have it on. It's not really the damage part. It's just for the ranged taunt. Silver Leash. It's just to pull enemies to us. It's going to do some damage, but it's going to pull them to us. So they don't necessarily have a chain like the DK's chain. They do have an ability that will pull them, which I'll go over here in a couple of abilities. But if you want it quicker, Silver Leash is the way to go. This isn't a fighter skilled ability, but it's not necessarily mandatory. Blockade of Frost. It's going to deal some frost damage. It's also going to give a shield to the group. Shield enemies become frozen or immobilized for 4 seconds, but this also helps to proc minor brittle. So that's kind of why ice staffs. Plus, you know, we get a shield when we block on our back bar, and we will also use magicka blocking. So if our stamina is a little low, we can switch to our magicka or ice staff and block a few hits until we get a orb or shard or a potion or something like that. So it's just nice. So ice staff, you're going to use magicka when you block. Shield, you're going to use stamina. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll give a demonstration here just to show. So on the shield bar, break free. We're blocking. We're using stamina to block. Just kind of how it is. Ice staff. Now we're using magicka. You see our magicka dropping. That's it. It's kind of how it goes. Boom. Yee. There it goes. Took a minute. But yeah, got to get these suckers off me now. And I am a tank with no DPS. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all it is. As a tank, ice staff, it's going to be that. You know, you deal magic damage. You're going to use stamina when you block with your shield, and you're going to use magicka when you block with your ice staff. So it just kind of helps with resource management as well. I know there's tanks that still want to use dual swords or sword and board. Not dual swords, but dual sword and board. By all means, go for it. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But I'm telling you, you are kind of hindering yourself not using the ice staff. I get it. It feels weird, but with an ice staff, it just allows you, you know, stamina. Okay, you're running low. You need to switch bars. Ice staff. Okay, now you're using magicka. It just allows you to basically use both of your resource pools to be able to block and keep yourself up. That's what it's all about. I understand it's weird, so if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. You can still use dual sword and board. By all means, go for it. But I'm telling you, Ice Staff is definitely the way to go if you feel comfortable with it. If you're not comfortable with it, then no matter what you use, it's not going to help you. So now we have Beckoning Armor. This is our Major Resolve buff. Basically gives us 5.9k physical resistance to spell increases. Wrap yourself in Hardened Bone, granting you Major Resolve, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 5.9k for 20 seconds. Now, while active, enemies that strike you with ranged attacks will be pulled towards you once every 3 seconds. Creates a course when the effect ends. Now, this lasts for it's every 3 seconds. To me, that is just too long. Like, I like to pull stuff in quickly and get it nuked down. So yeah, you might have this active and people will release the others in. Like so. It's just, to me, it's just easier going that way. Now, Braided Tether, siphon the last remnants of life from a corpse, healing for 13k health over 12 seconds to yourself and all allies around you and all allies between you and the corpse. While slot, your healing done is increased by 3%. That's it. Just kind of there for an extra little heal. If you want to use Beckoning Armor and don't really want to use Silver Leash, you can replace it with something like Overflowing Altar here. That's a nice little ability. Or Echoing Vigor, Resolving Vigor, whichever one you want. I use Resolving Vigor because sometimes I'm left alone with ads, depending on what trials I'm doing and stuff like that. So this is just more health, and that's why I take it. Now, Backbar Ultimate, Renewing Animation. Bring your allies back from the brink of death. Resurrect 3 allies at the target location. You restore 5.2k magicka and stamina for each ally you attempt to resurrect. It's only 3, but if you're in a group dungeon and they get dropped for whatever reason, this comes in handy. Like, you can get all 3 on backup, especially if they were near one another, and you can just continue on. Even in trial situations, this can come in handy. If for whatever reason 5 or 6 people get dropped, or 4 or 5, you can throw this res over, 3 of them are up. You're holding on to the boss, and they can start picking up the reses. Or the last, 5 got dropped. You're going to pick up 3, so those 3 can start picking up those last 2, and then just, makes things easier. But if you don't have it, you can always go Barrier, or you can put Colossus on your back bar, Warhorn on your front bar, whatever. You can play around with your ultimate. You can even use Barrier from 6, but this is kind of a baby tune, or baby tank for the most part, and I don't have Barrier yet. I will soon, but not yet. So yeah, it's pretty much set up. It's pretty much the skills I'm using. Let me know what you're running. Let me know what set you're running. Let me know what you think is the best tanking setup. Because I absolutely think this right here is probably the best tanking setup for 4-man content. If you have a different opinion, I want to hear it. I want to know what it is, because I would love to try it myself. So, that is the build. And until next time, take care and have fun.